Yo, this might be the wildest chapter in Drake's legacy yet. And trust me, you ain't heard the half of it. Just when we thought the For All the Dogs meltdown was the end of the saga, it got way worse. We talk in paranoia, betrayals, secret phone recordings, and now even DJ Akademiks and Mal from the Joe Budden universe have jumped in. Gas in the fire till it's a full-blown industry arson, sources close to Drake say he's been spiraling behind the scenes, emotional, isolated, and furious about the backlash. But here's where it gets crazy. Akademiks went live and dropped a private convo Drake allegedly had with an A-list industry exec and Mal. Oh, he came through with a cold, surgical takedown that might have just flipped public opinion against the sixth god for the first time ever. Meanwhile, Timovo is leaking, insiders are panicking, and fans are torn. Is Drake a victim of the industry machine he helped build? Or has the ego finally eaten the empire? Stay locked in, because we about to unpack the most legendary meltdown in rap history. That just got messier. You won't believe what went down behind closed doors. You ever see a legend lose it in real time? Like, not just in the music, but behind the scenes in the group chats. In the close friend stories, in the late night texts that get screenshotted and passed around the industry like a blunt. That's exactly what's happening right now with Drake. And what started as a simple fan backlash over his latest album has now turned into something way deeper. It's emotional, it's personal, and some say it might even be the beginning of the end. So here's what really happened. Drake dropped For All the Dogs thinking he was about to give the culture another classic. But when the reviews started pouring in, they weren't just mixed, they were brutal. Fans calling it lazy, repetitive, saying he sounded bored. And then the barbs started flying in from all corners. Joe Budden's podcast did a breakdown that damn near ripped the project apart. But the moment that really broke something in Drake wasn't from a fan or a critic. It came from someone he thought was family.enter, DJ Akademiks. Now, Drake and Ak have had this weird relationship for years. They weren't besties, but they had mutual respect. Drake would send him exclusives, and Ak would go live gassing him up every chance he got. But when Ak saw the wave of negativity online, he decided to switch lanes and, boy, did he switch fast. One random Tuesday night, Ak goes live and starts saying Drake is losing touch, that he's not hungry no more, and that maybe, just maybe, the sixth god is too rich to relate to real fans. But it didn't stop there. What nobody expected was for Ak to play a voice note. Not a rumor, not a quote, a real deal voice note that sounded a whole lot like Drake. Ranting about how he was tired of carrying the culture and how these fake hip-hop heads don't appreciate him. The voice was low, but you could hear the anger, the frustration. He said something like, "Let them have Kendrick. I gave them hits for a decade and they still turn on me. F***, all of them." The live went viral instantly. Fans were shocked. Drake stans were scrambling. Did he really say that? Was it even real? Drake's team didn't respond at first, which only made it worse. The silence was loud. Then, 2 days later, Drake unfollowed Akademiks on Instagram. Just like that, the bridge was burned. AK caught wind and doubled down. He said, "This man can't take criticism. I gave him nothing but support for years. Now he wanna play the victim?" The internet picked sides quick. And that's when the cracks in the OVO empire started to show. People close to Drake started leaking small things. Nothing too crazy at first, just whispers. Stuff like, he ain't been himself lately, or Drake's not taking this album flop well. But then Mal, formerly from the Joe Budden podcast, came through and aired out everything. Mal, who's always had a cool, calculated vibe, went on his new show and said straight up, Drake is surrounded by yes men. He don't got real ones in his circle no more. He got assistants trying to be A&R and bodyguards acting like stylists. Nobody tells him no. And now the music reflects that. But he didn't stop there. He said there was an incident recently that proved it all. So here's the tea. Apparently, during a private OVO dinner party in Toronto, someone brought up the criticism. Just casually. Not even in a mean way. And Drake snapped, stood up, knocked a glass off the table, and said, "I'm not here to be disrespected by people who wouldn't have a name if it wasn't for me."
Oh, wow.
Some people laughed nervously, but others said it was dead serious, like scary serious. A couple of guests left early. And one source said Drake didn't speak to anyone for the rest of the night. The emotional weight getting heavier by the day. And for someone who's always prided himself on being composed, strategic, and a step ahead, this version of Drake and Gray, bitter, unpredictable, was new. And a little terrifying. His inner circle tried to do damage control. Some of his day ones tried reaching out. Even Chubbs, who's been with Drake forever, reportedly pulled him aside and said, "You gotta chill. This ain't you." But Drake wasn't trying to hear it. Insiders say he's been obsessed with online comments, like refreshing Reddit threads, watching reaction videos, sending voice notes in the group chat late at night, just venting. One of those voice notes got leaked too, and it was even worse than the first dot in it. Drake allegedly says, "I built this house and now they trying to evict me." These fans got no loyalty. They screaming for artists who couldn't headline a club 2 years ago. "They'll miss me when I'm gone." The tone, defeated but also spiteful. It wasn't the confident, smooth Drake we're used to. This was raw, almost unstable. Meanwhile, the fans were divided. Some said he had a point, that after all he's done, maybe he is being disrespected. But others weren't buying it. They said, this is the game. Evolve or get left behind. And the media. They were having a field day. Headlines everywhere. Memes, reaction videos with titles like, "Is Drake finished?" and "The downfall of the sixth god." But then the story took another wild turn. Because the voice notes, they weren't just leaked randomly. Someone inside OVO was feeding them to an anonymous blog. And that blog, well, it just so happened to be run by someone very, very close to one of Drake's old collaborators. Someone he hasn't worked with in years. Someone who, rumor has it, felt like they were used and discarded once Drake hit a certain level of fame. Fans started speculating. Was it The Weeknd? Was it Party? Was it someone from the Take Care days who got left behind? Nobody could confirm. But the idea that there was a traitor inside OVO made the whole thing way messier. Drake, already feeling isolated, reportedly went full lockdown mode. Number posts? No calls. No public appearances. He canceled a few planned shoots and even skipped out on a studio session with a major producer. And that's when people close to him really started worrying. One source said, "This ain't just a meltdown. This feels like a breakdown." And just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, another figure from Drake's past popped up, someone nobody expected to hear from again. That someone, none other than Sophie Brasso. Yeah, that's Sophie, Drake's baby mother. Now look, Sophie's stayed low-key for years. After the whole Pusha T expose, she pretty much disappeared from the headlines. But now, she's stepping into the spotlight again. And what she had to say just poured gasoline on an already raging fire. So here's how it went down. Out of nowhere, Sophie posts a cryptic Instagram story. It's a black screen with white text that reads, "When you tell someone to get help and they call you a hater." Okay. No name. No tags. But everyone knew who it was aimed at. And within minutes, it was all over the blogs. Commenters went wild. Is she talking about Drake? What did she mean by help? And before anyone could speculate too long, she deleted it. But of course, screenshots already made their rounds. Now insiders started whispering that Sophie had tried to reach out to Drake privately weeks earlier. Not on some drama, on some genuine concern. Apparently, she noticed his tone in interviews and posts was off. She told mutuals that he seemed lost in his own ego, and that she was worried it would affect how he shows up for their son, Adonis. But instead of hearing her out, Drake allegedly ghosted her for days. No responses, no updates, nothing. And when he finally did reply, sources say it was icy. One word, texts. Passive-aggressive energy. Like he didn't want to deal with her at all. Sophie reportedly told a friend, "He's acting like the world is against him, but really, he's pushing everyone away." Now remember, this is all happening while the OVO camp is leaking. The fans are split and the media is circling like vultures. And then, another twist. Drake's father, Dennis Graham, hops online. Dennis been known to speak his mind, and this time was no different. He went on live and said everybody want to speak on Aubrey like they know him. Half y'all never been in the same room. He got pressure on him, none of y'all would survive. Instead of judging, try supporting. And while that might have been meant to protect his son, it actually backfired. People started saying, "Why is Drake's dad always doing the most?" Others dragged him for deflecting. But it didn't stop there. One fan asked Dennis in the comments, "What about the voice notes?" And Dennis responded, "Ain't no real man recording another man like that. Somebody in his circle is a snake." Boom! That was the confirmation people needed. The leaks weren't fake. They were real. And someone close was responsible. They were real. And someone close was responsible. The next day, two names started trending: Noah 40 Shabib and Oliver El Khatib. Not because people thought they leaked anything, but because they were noticeably silent. For years, 40 and Oliver have been Drake's right and left hand, always defending him, always holding it down. But during this whole meltdown, not a word, no posts, no interviews, nothing. Fans started wondering, are they still rocking with Drake? Or are they keeping their distance for a reason? A former OVO employee came forward anonymously and said, "People don't realize how much tension has been building internally. There's folks on the team who've been trying to leave quietly for months, and this whole blow-up just made them speed up the process." And let's not forget, Drake's been known to burn bridges when he feels betrayed. Think about the drama with The Weeknd, Meek Mill, Kanye. The pattern is always the same. Close ally becomes distant, tension brews, then boom, fallout. And it was starting to look like his own camp was next. Meanwhile, Akademiks was still throwing shots. Now that Drake had unfollowed him, Ak had no reason to hold back. In one live, he said, "You built an empire on being vulnerable, and now you mad when people call you out? Bro, you built this on emotion. You've got to take the good and the bad." Then he said something that had Twitter in shambles. The real Drake. He's a control freak. That's why he's cracking. The moment he couldn't control the narrative, he fell apart. And let's talk about the fans, because this is where things started getting even messier. Stan accounts that used to ride or die for Drake started arguing with each other. One popular Drake fan page tweeted, "We love the music, but we can't ignore the toxic behavior." Another responded, "Y'all just bandwagon fans? Drake been carrying hip-hop for years. Twist civil war in the fandom." And in the middle of it all, Adonis's birthday came up. Normally, Drake posts some lavish message, cute pics, heartfelt captions. This year, nothing. Just silence. And that silence spoke volumes. People noticed. Even some celebrity friends unfollowed Drake quietly around that time. Names like Kalani, even Shah, reportedly hit that unfollow button. Industry T pages started connecting dots. The narrative was shifting fast from Drake being misunderstood to Drake possibly being the problem. Then came the next bombshell. A former OVO engineer who only identified himself as M went on an underground podcast and said he left the team because the energy got too dark. He said, "You walk in the studio and you don't know if Drake gonna dap you up or cuss you out. It's mood swings every day. One minute he's working on 4 songs at once, the next he's just pacing, talking about how ungrateful the industry is." He also claimed that a huge chunk of For All the Dogs was scrapped and reworked last minute because Drake got paranoid about leaks. He was constantly changing verses, deleting songs, calling people at 4 a.m. to come re-record. The album was chaos. That's why it felt off. And if you thought that was wild, just wait. Because that's when Mal came back with round 2. On his next episode, Mal said something that had everyone leaning in. He said there's a reason certain rappers don't mess with Drake no more. It ain't jealousy. It's because they seen the real Hammond, they ain't like it. Then he looked straight into the camera and added, he knows exactly who I'm talking about. Twitter lit up. Who was Mal talking about? Was it Kendrick, Cole? Maybe even Travis. Theories exploded. And right as that clip was going viral, guess what? Another voice note leaked. This one. The most emotional yet. Drake's voice raw and broken, saying, I don't even know who to trust anymore. Everybody wants something. The money, the clout, the access. I miss when it was just about the music. Now I'm just a product. And that's when fans realized. This wasn't just a meltdown. This was a man unraveling at the seams. The fame, the pressure, the betrayal, it was all hitting at once. The internet had already labeled it the downfall of Drake. But nobody was prepared for what he did next. After weeks of silence, isolation, and drama swirling around him like a storm, Drake finally broke his silence. But not with an apology, not with a new song, and definitely not with some calm, collected PR move. Nah. He came back with rage. Early Monday morning, Drake uploaded a black and white video to his Instagram with no caption, no context. Just a dimly lit room, a table, and him sitting across from the camera. He looked exhausted, the beard untrimmed, hoodie over his head. He sat still for 10 seconds before speaking, and what came out sent shockwaves through the culture. I let too many people eat off my name, he said quietly. Too many people played close just to get the clout, and when it wasn't convenient to love me, they disappeared. Cool, keep that same energy, he continued. I'm not here to be y'all's hero no more. Y'all want drama, betrayal, pain, fine. I'll give you something to talk about. But don't act like I owe you peace when you never gave me any. It wasn't an apology. It was a declaration of war. He didn't name names, but everyone knew exactly who he was, addressing Akademiks, Mal, Sophie, even his own inner circle. And right at the end of the video, he dropped the bomb. A snippet of a brand new track, barely 30 seconds long, but enough to get the world talking. The beat was dark, moody, almost haunting. His voice, raw and unfiltered, rapped, told my son I'd shield him from the demons. Now the demons sit in with me at the table. I feed him. Snakes in the studio lies in the label. Used to dream of peace, now I sleep unstable. Fans lost their minds. Some said it was the hardest verse he'd dropped in years. Others said he sounded broken, defeated. Either way, the video got 10 million views in a day. But what made things worse? Akademiks responded live just minutes after the post. AK was in rare form. He played the clip, paused it, then said, Bro, nobody's trying to eat off you. People just tired of the act. You can't cry victim when you've been the villain behind closed doors. Then, in true Ak fashion, he lit the fire even more. If you really bout it, drop the full track. Stop hiding behind aesthetics and half-baked therapy bars. Either you rapping or you sulking. And just like that, the beef officially escalated. But Ak wasn't the only one who clapped back. Mal took a different approach. On his podcast, he laughed, literally laughed through the entire clip. Then he said, this man really turned his midlife crisis into a marketing campaign. Respect the hustle, though. But behind the scenes, things were a lot darker than Drake was letting on. People close to him said the video wasn't a calculated comeback kit, was a desperate act. One source claimed Drake had locked himself in his home studio for 72 hours straight. No sleep, barely any food. Just recording, deleting, re-recording. And the scary part, he was allegedly doing it all alone. Number 40, no engineers. No team. Just Drake and the demons he kept referencing. And the paranoia. It had gotten worse. Reports surfaced that Drake had cut off nearly everyone from his inner circle. Some were let go quietly. Others were straight up blocked. He'd switched phones, changed studio locations, even allegedly told his driver to only pick him up wearing a mask so nobody knew who was around him. One insider said it's like he doesn't trust anybody. He thinks everyone is watching him, recording him, setting him up. Now, whether that's true paranoia or just precaution, we don't know. But what we do know is that it didn't stop the bleeding. Because while he was isolating himself, the culture kept moving. Kendrick and Cole dropped a surprise collab that week. And the internet quickly crowned it the real hip-hop moment of the year. Drake's name wasn't even trending anymore. And that is what triggered the next move. 3 days after Kendrick and Cole dropped their song, Drake posted a story. Plain white background, text in lowercase. They always need two to replace me. And the comments. Brutal. Bro, just admit you down bad. Q fighting ghosts while they making classics. He can't handle not being the center anymore. And guess who reposted that Drake story with a laughing emoji? Yep, Meltdown, but here's where the twist comes in, because while the industry was clowning him, one person came forward out of nowhere to defend Drake, and nobody saw it coming. Rihanna on her Finsta account, which fans quickly linked to her after an accidental tag. She posted a photo of her and Drake from years ago, backstage at one of his shows. The caption, "Say what you want, he's still the biggest artist alive." That post sent shockwaves across the fandom. Was Rihanna trying to mend fences? Was she just defending an old friend? Either way, it brought Drake a small moment of vindication. His fans finally had something to rally around. They started trending hashtag #LongLiveSixGod, posting clips of his past interviews, freestyles, awards reminding everyone why he was the face of a generation. But the peace didn't last. The very next day, another blow landed. A long-form article from a respected music journalist came out titled "Inside the Unraveling of Drake Fame. Ego and the Walls Closing In." It was brutal, detailed, emotional. It broke down the failed friendships, the industry tensions, the toxic recording sessions, all backed by anonymous sources who claimed to have worked with Drake in the last year. The article said Drake had become a prisoner of his own legacy, and that the more he chases relevance, the more it slips through his fingers. Fans were stunned. Some said it was slander. Others said it was honest, but the damage was done. Others said it was honest, but the damage was done. And at the very end of the article, a quote from someone only identified as a former OVO collaborator. He doesn't know who he is without the applause. When the noise stops, he panics. That quote hit hard. It started trending. Everyone from fans to industry insiders started echoing the same question. Who is Drake without the spotlight? And that's when Drake went dark again. No posts, no stories, no replies. Just silence. But what the world didn't know was that behind that silence, something even bigger was brewing. Not just another track, not just another rant. A confrontation. While the world thought Drake was retreating again, nursing his wounds in silence, what was really happening behind the scenes was even more shocking. Because someone from inside OVO, someone still on payroll, still attending meetings, still in the group chats, was about to break their silence in the most brutal way possible. A man known only as E, who had worked as a digital strategist and personal liaison for Drake since the Scorpion era, dropped a now-deleted YouTube interview under an alias. He sat in shadows, voice modulated, but the content clear, direct, and explosive. It didn't take long for fans to put two and two together. OVO followers recognized his voice, his speech pattern, even his tattoos through his sleeve. This was no troll. This was real. Drake's biggest problem, E began, is that he believes his legacy makes him untouchable. He don't realize that people been walking on eggshells around him for years. Every studio session, every dinner, every meeting, it's all fake smiles. The man ain't been told the truth in half a decade. Then he dropped the bombshell. The voice notes. They weren't hacked. They weren't leaked by outsiders. They came from inside. Someone who was trying to force his hand. Get him to face what he's been avoiding. He knows exactly who did it, and he's too scared to confront them. Social media exploded. Everyone started asking the same question. Who inside the camp would betray Drake like that? Fans were pointing fingers. But while everyone scrambled for answers, E kept talking. He claimed that Drake had been offered therapy by his team multiple times, especially after the deaths of close friends and the pressures of fame intensified. But every time Drake refused. He thinks vulnerability is only for the booth, E said. But what happens when the music ain't enough to process the pain anymore? And then came the part that really shook the culture, hinted that Drake was this close to walking away from music altogether. He's been talking about quitting for real, he said. Not on some retirement tour clout move on, some I'm done with this type energy. He told a few people that if the next project doesn't land, he's out. Fans were stunned. Drake quitting. The same man who once said not even slightly interested in going out quietly. The internet was now divided in an entirely new way. Some said he should walk away before things get worse. Others begged him to drop a classic and prove everyone wrong. But behind the scenes, things continued to spiral. And then, the confrontation finally happened, according to sources close to OVO. The identity of the original leaker was confirmed and it wasn't who anyone expected. It wasn't a rival. It wasn't a fired staffer. It was someone Drake once called his little brother, a videographer who had traveled the world with him, shot intimate behind-the-scenes footage, stayed in his homes. Let's call him J.J. had apparently become frustrated with how he was being treated. Underpaid, ignored, promised credits that never came. And when he confronted Drake privately, he was dismissed, brushed off. According to sources, Drake told him, "You knew what this life was. You eat off my name. Remember that?" Words cut deep, and Jay, feeling used and disposable, decided to take matters into his own hands. He began recording Drake during emotional moments, late-night rants, studio meltdowns, private convos. Then he started feeding them to small blogs anonymously. His goal wasn't just revenge. It was exposure. He wanted the world to see what he saw every day. A man consumed by ego, cracking under pressure, surrounded by opportunists. When Drake found out the truth, insiders say he didn't explode. He didn't even yell. He went completely silent. Locked himself in the studio. Didn't speak to anyone for 48 hours. And when he finally did come out, he told his team to shut everything down. What does that mean? Well, sources say multiple OVO projects were immediately paused. Unreleased features got shelved. Deals with streaming platforms were renegotiated. He was pulling out, disappearing again. But there was one final move before the blackout. Drake sent a private message voice note styled to Mal. Yeah, the same Mal who'd been torching him online for weeks. And somehow that message also got leaked. The voice was calm, eerily calm. "You win," he said. "You wanted the throne so bad, you can have it. But just know you ain't built for what comes with it. I let you poke for months. This was never about music for you. This was personal. So go ahead, enjoy the clicks. But remember, when it's your turn to fall, I'll be there watching." Fans were stunned. Not because he messaged Mal, but because of the tone. It wasn't arrogant. It wasn't angry. It was cold. Final. Like a man preparing to walk away from everything. And then, the move that nobody predicted, Drake wiped his entire Instagram. Every photo, every reel, every highlight. Gone. Silence. And just when fans thought this might be the end, one final message popped up on his stories. "If you ever loved the music, pray for the man behind it." Those 9 words shut the internet down. Drake was no longer just a rapper. He had become a warning, a symbol of what fame, pressure, and isolation can do even to the most untouchable. Celebrities began reacting. Ty Dolla $ign tweeted a broken heart emoji. DJ Khaled posted an old photo with the caption, "Love and loyalty forever." Even Nicki Minaj, who hadn't spoken publicly on the drama at all, liked a fan post that said, "He gave too much to be treated like this." But the final twist? Someone spotted Drake days later in Turks and Caicos. No entourage, no security. Just him on a beach looking out at the ocean. The photo went viral, of course, and fans began calling it the Drake exile era. The man who once ruled the charts. The clubs, the summer, the culture, now silent, distant, and watching it all from afar. And the question hanging in the air, is this just a pause or the end of the sixth god? And with that, the curtain closes for now. But nothing in hip-hop ever stays quiet for long. And if you think Drake's done for good, just wait, because legends don't die easy. So here we are, y'all. The sixth god Drake caught in the biggest storm of his career. From leaked voice notes to old allies turning into enemies, from emotional breakdowns to industry betrayal. It's like the walls really are closing in. And even after all the drama, the unanswered question still lingers heavy. Is this a real fall, or the setup for the biggest comeback in rap history? One thing's for sure, this ain't just about music anymore. This is about identity, legacy, trust, loyalty, and what happens when a man who once had the world at his feet starts questioning everything he built. Whether you're Team Drake, Team Accountability, or just watching the chaos unfold with popcorn in hand, you can't deny this is history in motion. But now we want to hear from you. Do you think Drake is really done? Or is this just his way of stepping back before dropping something legendary? Was Akademiks out of pocket? Or did he simply expose the truth the fans were too afraid to admit? And Mao, was he keeping it real? Or was he clout chasing during a vulnerable moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No filter. No sugarcoating. And if you're still rocking with the realest rap news channel on the net, make sure you like this video. Subscribe for more deep dives and exclusive breakdowns. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in this wild saga. Trust me, with the way things are moving, this story ain't done yet. This has been your dose of real rap drama. Internet chaos and industry secrets served hot and unfiltered. We'll see you next time. Stay locked in. We'll see you next time. Stay locked in.